Views and opinions expressed on this broadcast does not reflect or represent the views of WTMP, its officers, staff, or advisors.
Listen to the Call for Help show with attorney Paul Rebein every Saturday morning at AM right here on WTMP. And if you need a personal injury attorney, call the Rebein Brothers PA at 813-305-7285. 813-305-7285.
Good morning and welcome to the Call for Help show. I'm your host, attorney Paul Rebein. Also in the studio with me are my co-host, Robin Lockett, and Pastor Brenda Fruster. Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to wish everybody out there a happy Father's Day tomorrow. Happy Juneteenth.
Yes.
We're going to talk about, among other things, those two things, Father's Day, Juneteenth. We talked a lot about Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Mothers usually get more attention, I think, than the fathers.
They carry the baby. They carry the baby.
9 months.
Yeah, 9 months.
Being uncomfortable. Being very uncomfortable.
Yes.
All the way to the end.
Dad just had fun, but mother carries it. So yeah.
Well, I want to wish my dad a happy Father's Day. I don't know if he's listening, but if you are, Dad, happy Father's Day. Hope my FedEx package gets there in time that I sent yesterday.
Now that is so funny to me that so dads are not acknowledged as much as they should, because there's a whole lot of every dad should be not acknowledged, right? A lot of times dads do the best that they can, that they know how to do, right? So just an effort. So all of that, but they start out with great gifts. When the kids are young, I was teasing with Norman Harris about this. He has a newborn, so tomorrow will be his first Father's Day, and I was like, "Oh, everybody's going to be so happy because it's going to be your first Father's Day." Wait until about the fifth year, then you're going to start getting things that you don't use. You're going to become the second thought, and you're going to fall right in line with everybody else.
What's a good Father's Day gift? It's always the difficult question.
What's a good Father's Day gift?
I think a good steakhouse dinner. Most fathers enjoy that company of going to one of their favorite places. And my experience has been this, Charlie Steakhouse. Where would you like to go? Charlie Steakhouse. So I think that could be one, but most of the times I like to ask, what would you like? And then from there, because I'll go buy socks and ties, and I've been told we're tired of socks and ties.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't go wrong with beer. I mean, beer is usually
beer.
Yes. If the person likes beer, then you can't go wrong with beer.
I think it's beer. Okay.
Now, do you think that the mother should buy the father a Father's Day present, or is that just the responsibility of the kids?
I think it's the kid. So a guy that I dated, we had this conversation because I expected a Mother's Day gift. He was like, "You ain't my mother." I said, "Whatever. I'm the mother of this house." But I think that I think both. I think that it affords the kids an opportunity. You start training them, right, to do that. So when they leave, they'll continue to do it. So you put it in their hands for them to do it, and I think then they'll continue to do it. But I think both. Yeah. I think if you're a mother, the mom, because she'll get the father what I think that he would like. The kids, pick up all the other stuff.
Well, give us a call, 888-247-8712, if you want to wish
I agree.
a happy Father's Day, or anyone a happy Father's Day, or happy Juneteenth. But yeah, I mean, Mother's Day is like main event, and Father's Day is an afterthought.
You smile every time you say that, Paul.
That's just been my experience.
Yes, that's the truth. You had a true experience. You had a true experience.
What's
So,
going
no.
on? Juneteenth is tomorrow.
Yeah.
The holiday is Monday. What's been going on? I know, Robin, you were at City Hall this
Oh,
Friday. For the
yeah. So
fundraising.
Juneteenth is, Tuesday or Wednesday. Gwen Myers, I think last year sometime, this time she motioned to have a Juneteenth flag raised at the county center. That was done. And the county even has the day off. That was done. So hats off to Commissioner Myers for doing that, and the unanimous vote the board made to make it happen. City Council, and they have, so nobody knows the significance of this. So with the county center, their flag is on a different pole. So she had a pole installed, probably for other flags, but that was, the Juneteenth flag is on that pole. And the flag is flying for the remainder of the month. So it doesn't come down until the end of the month. So I think that's great. Right?
Yeah, it's a good move.
Right.
Wait, so you're saying the county workers get off, but the city don't?
Sure don't.
We need to do something about that. Hey, Mayor Castor, what's the problem here?
Yeah.
City worker need Juneteenth off too.
Yes. And so the event yesterday, it was a nice event. It was quick. The city held the Juneteenth, raised the Juneteenth flag. So they do it on Fridays, so the flag can fly at least until the end of the weekend, and then it comes down. Yeah, it was a nice event. It was hot as heck out there, but it was a nice event.
Yeah, it's hot.
So 2 flags flying. I'm happy about that. I just hope that the community, recognizes and a lot of education goes around what Juneteenth is. And there's a lot of events happening out in the community, but they really understand what it is. And this is our 4th of July. This is what we should be celebrating. We're not saying not to celebrate 4th of July, but when we know better, we do better. And this is our 4th of July. So this is where, we should be celebrating about Juneteenth.
So just, I'm sure most people know what Juneteenth is, but for those listeners who may not know, give us a little refresher on what that is.
So now, don't get me on the dates. I think 1865, slaves were freed.
1865.
Like it took 2 months. I don't know. I can't chronicleize everything, but we were. This is when we were. It was known that we were free.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more. There's a little bit more to it than that, isn't there?
Okay, so you challenging me, Paul? Tell me.
Well, since we are both on the board of the Juneteenth Coalition,
I am. Listen, don't do that, Paul. No, go ahead.
I mean, I'm no expert on it either, but
no, go ahead.
As I remember, it was. You said 1865, right?
I think it's 1865.
It was in Texas.
Yeah, Texas.
So the Emancipation Proclamation came out before that. Does anybody know when the Emancipation Proclamation was? I don't have that date, but this was the date when the enslaved people in Texas learned about it, that they had been freed. And so in Texas, they celebrated Juneteenth, June 19th, because that was the day in 1865.
Yes.
That they learned about it. You just forgot the Texas part and the Emancipation Proclamation part.
Whatever. We were free. And we found out late.
It is interesting.
I was never good at history.
It is interesting, like everybody think, oh, the Emancipation Proclamation or President Lincoln freed the slaves. He signed a piece of paper, but
Child, listen.
that didn't necessarily do anything.
Let Reverend Dixon tell that history.
Yes, Reverend Dixon, I'm sure you're going to be calling because you wanted to do your public service announcement about your event. Do you know when his event is? Is it today?
Oh, it's today. Today at the Kojic Center, 1002 East Martin Luther King Boulevard. It's at 2:30, and it's the Juneteenth event. So he's going to have several speakers. Fentress Driscoll, Fentress Driscoll is going to be one of the speakers. I'll be one of the speakers. One of our members, Sharika Milton, would be one of the speakers. And it's great food, and great fellowship.
What are you speaking about?
I don't know yet. I have to meditate about that.
Good.
You want to get some type of inspiration.
Yes, I want some inspiration. Any other events going on? I know that Rock the Block that's going on at the Tampa Stadium? Raymond James.
Mm-hmm.
Is that today?
Oh, Raymond James Stadium. That's today at 3.
Ooh, it's going to be hot out there.
Oh, yeah. That's prime time. Now, what's Rock the Block about? Juneteenth too?
Yes, a Juneteenth event.
Okay.
So just a lot of things will be out there. They talked about financial services, step teams, global yoga event.
Global yoga?
Somebody, yeah. It's whatever's happening with yoga is global. So they're going to be able to transmit it throughout, everywhere. So, but Pastor RJ Stevenson was on Diane's show this morning, Rep Hart's show this morning, talking about it. But it was like a lot of stuff. I
know there's
Orlando
pageant, Juneteenth, Miss Juneteenth pageant this year.
That was.
Hold on, we got a call. I bet this is Reverend Dixon. Caller, welcome to the Call for Help show.
No, it's not Reverend Dixon, but good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ending a 3-year civil war, Lincoln signed the Emancipation in 1863 in order to hold the Union together. So part of that concession and the work that African and enslaved people did was the ending of slavery. But this is the point, and I recognize people must hold up our victories. But in 1865, the United States signed the 13th Amendment that allowed slavery to continue as a form of punishment. And so our struggle as African people is always, as we celebrate Juneteenth now, with the recognition of knowing that we're not free. And so a realistic approach should be of the continual work that Black people must do in this vicious America. That's what I want to say this morning as nicely as I possibly can. We have work to do because as long as we have in this country a sense of entitlement by white people, it is always going to be a struggle for Black people to fight themselves out of every situation, whether it is voting rights, housing rights, living rights, biking blacks, talking rights. It's a vicious fight until we can get white people to come on board with humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So so just to piggyback off of what Connie just said. So we're free to fight. We don't have to stand still. We're not enslaved anymore, but we are free to fight, to empower ourselves to do the work.
Say that again.
I say we are free to. We are not enslaved anymore, so we are free to fight. Fight for things that we want to see changed. We're free. We are free to fight.
Yes. Okay.
So Juneteenth, the Miss Juneteenth pageant was yesterday. June 19th, there's a Juneteenth community church service. June 25th, there's a Juneteenth musical stage play. And then it goes into July and so forth. But the pageant was last night.
Okay. Well, definitely, I think the holiday is gaining more and more recognition. It's a federal holiday, so all the federal institutions will be closed. I really think that city of Tampa really needs to. I'm surprised about this.
Yeah, our organization has it off, and we had it off because our organization just started, right? A year and a half, but we have it off.
Well, if you work for the city of Tampa, I'm giving you permission not to come into work on Monday. And if they try to fire you, give me a call.
Oh my God.
Okay, Paul.
Well,
Taking that stand.
That's right. That's right. If you want to talk to us about any of these topics, give us a call, 888-247-8712. So what's everybody doing for Father's Day?
I don't have a husband.
What I said, nothing.
So, Brenda, what you doing for your husband?
Well, that's a very good question. He's so low key and laid back. He will probably be here watching the Westerns. Love to watch the Westerns without the beer, but we'll be watching. We'll be with our feet kicked up on the table and we'll be watching the Westerns, or we'll just get in the car and go for a ride around the city and back. But he's so low key. He's not one that, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that. So I celebrate him in his elements.
Basically, you're doing nothing is really what.
Well,
so that's what he wants to do.
I've got a special dinner, and I ordered him something special. I heard him say, "Oh, I like to do this," which he very rarely does. Whatever he wants, he just go ahead and do it himself. But I heard him say, "Oh, I would love to do this." I thought, "Oh, okay, finally." So I ordered something for him, and but no, he'll be celebrating for sure.
Just prior, I've seen just snippets on television, right? Just conversations about the narrative of Black men and kids, deadbeat dads and so forth. And then, it got me to thinking, I was like, wow. So the narrative has been put out there about our Black men, right? For years, right? The baby mama syndrome and all that other stuff has been put out there. I think that a lot of times we have to be very mindful of how we regurgitate things, because even with our Black men, I can guarantee you there's more responsible Black men than not.
Absolutely. And from my experience, I talk a lot from my place of experience, or perhaps, in my counseling, but my personal experience, and that is a true statement. But there's also some fathers that have been labeled deadbeat, but the mothers aren't giving them the chance or the opportunity. They've taught the children to hate him, to disrespect him. Correct. And yet he comes around, yet he may not be able to afford a high support, child support, but something is there, and you still label him to be a deadbeat. So, I celebrate those fathers. Because it took two. Yeah. And literally, a father is one who helps give life to another. Yeah. So unless you inseminated it, you can't deny him the right of saying, well, you're never around. You da 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 da. And that's not for all cases now, because there are some cases that's worse.
Hold that thought. We got a caller. Caller, welcome to the Call4Help show.
Good morning. How are you all today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just wanted to comment on something that Robin just said. This is Fred Hearns, and you're absolutely right, Robin. When we know better, we absolutely should do better. So how I view Juneteenth is an opportunity to talk about Tampa history and slavery and Florida history and slavery. I think that as we educate ourselves more about Juneteenth, and that is important, I really feel our first obligation is to know our local history. There were enslaved people in Tampa. We don't hear too much about that, probably as many as 100. They were liberated a whole year before Juneteenth happened in Galveston, Texas, a whole year before then. And some of the soldiers, because liberation didn't come until the Union soldiers showed up. As somebody said, the Emancipation Proclamation was a piece of paper that was not enforced until the Army showed up. The Army showed up in Tampa a whole year before Juneteenth, and some of those U.S. soldiers were Black soldiers, 36 of them from Maryland. That's part of the history we should be talking about when we gather for Juneteenth. I'm happy it's a federal holiday, and I understand now it's a county holiday, and it may be celebrated in all corners of this community. But as we do that, I'm really hoping folk will take an interest in our local history and learn more about slavery in Tampa and in Hillsborough County. It came to an end on May 6, 1864, a whole year before Juneteenth. The Florida Liberation date is May 20th, 1865, been celebrated in Tallahassee for maybe 40 years or more. We did it this year up in Brooksville, the Tampa Bay History Center. We're going to do it again every year, and hopefully folk will take an interest in learning more about local history. That's what I wanted to say today, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. That's good information.
That is.
That is great information. Another level of insight, because we came out saying 1865, and then the caller before him came out with 1863, and here he's connecting the dot with 1864. So I think it's another great level of information that's coming forth. I appreciate that.
The older you get, and as you see how long people live, I was born in 1967, and so to think about just like 100 years before that, there was slavery was legal and being carried out in this country or whatever, a little over 100 years. Now, as you get older, 100 years doesn't seem like that long.
Don't.
We're really not that far. We're not that far from it.
In some kind of way, when they couldn't get it from us physically, they created systematically.
Like you mean like Jim Crow and that sort of thing?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So Fred should. I know there's the history center. I think it's downtown somewhere that he's a part of. But how do we? Yeah, that was good information.
I remember when I was in grade school, we went to like a nursing home for soldiers or whatever, and there was actually a soldier who was in the Civil War.
Wow.
That was still alive, when we went there. So that just shows you that we're not that far.
Wow.
Not that far removed in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. So I think the one step moving forward. How do we pivot from the negative narrative that has been depicted upon just anything, right? Going back to our conversation even last week, manifestation, right? Putting stuff out there. But, because I know if the idea of Black fathers being deadbeats, and we have a smaller population. So, plenty more white fathers that are deadbeats, plenty more, you know what I'm saying? But you don't hear that. You don't hear that about any other race, is like in the Black community. But how do we change that narrative or pivot from that narrative? And it does take the mom. It does take the mom also.
It does. And I wasn't in the conversation you all had last week, but I know you were talking about, the power of your words and the power of, what you say can come about, whether it's positive or negative. So obviously keeping these positive words on your tongue and in your mind, and not slipping into the trap of relying on an old stereotype that is not true. I think we all need to be mindful of that in all things.
Correct. Because the kids don't have anything to do. I was never married. I had 2 kids from 2 different fathers. And my kids had nothing to do with my relationship with my kid's father. So my kids can tell you today that I never spoke ill of their dad. My youngest son, his dad decided to be in the streets. I wasn't a street girl, but I would tell Cedric that his dad was out working somewhere, but that was my decision. And I just never, because at the end of it, men are going to mature, hopefully. They're going to try to get straight, hopefully, and they are going to meet the kids. So I wanted my child to meet his dad as whole as he could, right? And then whatever relationship they built between those two, it was on the father to make that the best relationship it could be, right? So I just chose not to do that early on in my life.
Yeah, and it's on you just to not put any negativity out there or interfere with that.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to protect your character and his.
Mm-hmm.
And mine was the same way. I've never spoken ill of my daughter's natural father. But, after Robert and I got married, Robert quickly adopted our daughter. And 40 years, if you give her the opportunity, she will tell you that Robert is her father, as if Robert and I were the one that came together to birth her. And she doesn't talk ill of her father. She just says, I don't see him. I don't know where he's at, because that's never been a highlight of our life.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's also give a shout out to the stepfathers out there who are.
Yeah.
But that's real, right? That is so true. That is so true.
Yes.
Stepfathers.
Amen. Well, it looks like our time here is coming to an end, ladies. Good talking to you again. Glad to be back from my vacation.
Yes, good to have you back. I saw you out on the boat. Woo,
I got my tropical shirt on.
I told Paul I want to be able to have a duty to be done, because I want to go on the trip next year.
Okay, maybe we'll have a Call for Help show cruise next year. We'll find out. We'll see you next time on the Call for Help show, and that's it for us. Bye.
Happy Father's Day.